I mean, you're clearly successful. You have had a business for over 25 years, that a lot of people don't make it past the second year.
Oh my God, I'm getting emotional, Bianca, because I want to do it all. And we can have it all. It's just we can't do it all at the same time because we're also lifing, right?
Yeah.
We're not just entrepreneurs. And it didn't come overnight. It wasn't an overnight sensation.
Yeah.
So in that moment, thank goodness I had this intuitive feeling that something was wrong. Like I couldn't allow this to continue to happen to me.
What's up, you guys? It's your girl, Bianca B, and welcome to the Bianca B Show, where we talk about business, finances, and friendships. So today, I'm super excited about our next guest, Grace Redman. She is a successful entrepreneur, coach, and speaker with over 25 years of experience in the Bay Area. She's also the best-selling author of Can I Live? I Dare to Go From Effed Up to Fabulous. And she's also the host of the Real Talk with Grace Redman podcast. Her staffing firm was recently named one of the top 5 women-owned businesses in the region. Let's just say she's a girl boss. We live for a girl boss, and I'm super excited to talk with her today. Grace, how are you?
Hi, Bianca. Good morning, honey. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I like to always open up each show with a little icebreaker. What has been the most surprising lesson you learned from your experience as an entrepreneur?
The most surprising lesson I've learned is for me to be successful, I have to fail, like almost every day. And from someone who was conditioned not to fail, because I learned early on that if I failed, I wasn't good enough. That was a hard lesson to learn. So I would say that's my biggest takeaway as an entrepreneur, like embrace the failure, because that's how you learn and grow and succeed.
Now, were you a corporate girly before you became an entrepreneur, or you was just an entrepreneur straight off?
I was in corporate for just a little bit. I worked for a doctor's office for almost 10 years. And then once I graduated college, I did go into corporate for less than a year. And then I said, I want to be an entrepreneur because I wanted to raise a family and I wanted to have, autonomy and flexibility over my schedule. Little did I know how challenging it would be. However, it did give me the flexibility to be there for my family. It wasn't easy, but here I am 25 years later.
Yeah. And I mean, back then, entrepreneurship wasn't just like this fabulous, glorified thing like how it is today. Kind of walk me through how you decided to start your business and helping and coaching women and things like that.
Sure. So I'll tell you a little story. I think I had just graduated college and I was feeling disillusioned. I was in my earlier mid-20s, feeling disillusioned because I didn't know which road I wanted to take. And I happened to be in a club that night, just feeling, alone and not sure which direction to take, and happened to be standing next to these 2 guys, and they were talking about how one of their sisters just was a headhunter and just placed a candidate with a company and made $10,000. And so in my mind, I said, okay, that could help me be financially secure where I won't have to depend on anyone else. Like I really wanted to be independent. And so that led me to go back to the computer. At that time, it was a very different world. And I started applying for positions within recruiting firms. And I did get a position within a recruiting firm and I got the training and I still had the entrepreneurial spirit in my mind. And so once I got the training from that firm, I went out and I did it on my own. I started my own firm.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And so, what is your firm about?
So my staffing firm, I've been doing the staffing for 25 years. And 9 years ago, I started a success coaching side of the business. So on the staffing side, what we've been doing is providing administrative support candidates to corporate clients here in the San Francisco Bay Area. That's one part of it. The other part of it, I've been, supporting candidates to help them find their next, career move.
Mhm.
And the majority of the people we work with are administrative in nature. So it's been incredible for me to witness placing someone right out of college, and now they're in a chief position. So it's been just an incredibly rewarding experience for me.
Mm.
Challenging, but rewarding.
Yeah, and oftentimes, especially when you're coming out of college, you don't know what you want to do. You have this idea that I want to go this way with my career. Then that starts to shift. What advice can you give to people who are indecisive on what to do next?
That's a great question. I would say just continue to show up every day and really have the perspective of this is an exploration of
Mhm.
what I want my next step to be. Because I believe like when I was coming up, the story was you had to know exactly which career you wanted to be in and stay in that career for the rest of your life. But
Yeah.
really, how realistic is that? So what I would recommend is definitely be committed and consistent with taking action, and see this as an exploration, and you will land in the right position for you, or you'll create the right business for you. Just be open and stay committed to showing up and taking action.
Mm. I love that. And you have your book, Can I Live? I Dare to Go from Effed Up to Fabulous. Well, from
Yes.
Effed to Fabulous.
Right here, girl. Here it is. Like, can I live?
Yes, I love that. So what was the inspiration behind your book?
So it's funny. So when I was 19 years old, I found myself in a really difficult situation. And so I had this intuitive feeling to that I needed professional help.
Mhm.
And so in secret, because at that time you didn't talk about therapy, you didn't go to therapy because that was seen as taboo. So
Yeah.
on my own, I sought out a therapist, and I saw her on and off for 25 years. And so about 9 years ago, when I let her know I started a coaching side of the business, she said, wow, like that's amazing. Because when I met you when you were 19 years old, I didn't believe there was any hope left for you. And she said, I'm sorry if I'm offending you. I said, absolutely not. I'm not offended at all. So the book came about because I wanted to share how I overcame my struggles, my dysfunction, my critical stories that weren't working for me to get to where I am today. So that's what the book is about. Just the different, and you don't have to start at chapter 1. Like you could just open it and start at any chapter, because it'll share the different principles and steps that I used to get to where I am today.
I love that. And I just started therapy. I'm like a year in now with the same
Right.
therapist. And what was that pivotal moment for you when you were like, oh, I need help?
Girl, it was not good. It was not good. I was, like I said, 19 years old and dating this boy who was definitely, toxic and abusive. However, at 19 years old, I didn't believe that I deserved better. I didn't have, I didn't have my self-worth intact. And so one afternoon, after work, of course, you're excited. You want to rush over, see the guy because it feels good. So I'm excited to get off work. And, I rush over there and over to pick him up from his office where he was working, all excited. And because I was a few minutes late, when he came out, he punched me in the head because he thought like I was somewhere else with someone else.
Mhm.
And I was stunned. And then I sat at that on the sidewalk. I'll never forget that day, just feeling defeated and ashamed and depressed and broken. And there was no one that I could call or go to because, again, like those things were taboo. In my community, you don't talk about those things. And if I came to my mom or my friend and I shared that, then I'd be looked at as just trash, which is not true.
Yeah.
So in that moment, thank goodness I had this intuitive feeling that something was wrong. Like I couldn't allow this to continue to happen to me. And so this is how the universe works. The next day I was sitting in a coffee shop just feeling so depressed. And at that time I was reading the local newspaper. Okay. And in the newspaper, there was an ad for, $8 therapy for students. And
Wow.
so that's how my journey started.
Mm. And that's, so many women are secretly, privately going through some type of abuse, whether that's emotional, physical. And it's hard, it's challenging, and waking up and being like, it's time for me to leave. This is not healthy. What advice can you give to young women out there who may be experiencing that, but don't have the finances to get a therapist? What advice or tips can you give to those who are experiencing, their first love, and they're in it, and that first love, and you just like,
you think it's the first love.
yeah,
that's what you think, because it feels so deep.
mm-hmm.
You feel it so deeply in your body. However, based on my experience, what it actually is a trauma response.
Yeah.
But once that dopamine gets going in our body, we become delusional and we believe like this is love. However, what was really missing for me was self-love. I was searching outside of me for that feeling to make me feel good from these boys and men, because I was looking for daddy's love, and my dad was wonderful. However, he didn't know how to show his love. So I was searching outside. And so what I would recommend, the first thing is to really get honest with yourself and ask yourself, like, how do I feel about myself? What's the story I'm telling myself about myself? What do I believe I deserve? And you'll be very surprised at what comes up. And of course, if you're in a situation that's not safe, I would recommend contacting a friend, or speaking to a family, if that's, going to someone that you trust.
Yeah.
Because I would definitely recommend, and I know it's easier said than done. I know this because I've been there. Just removing yourself from the situation. And again, I know that's easier said than done.
Mm-hmm. And, once that relationship ended, did you find yourself putting all of yourself into your work? Because that happens often.
Oh, at that time, I found yes. So I had a story that I had to achieve, work hard to earn and deserve something, but also I was a human doing, was attached to my worth. So yes, I've always, when I was younger, focused on doing more, being more, giving more. But again, that was coming from a place of, I'm not feeling good enough, so I need to go outside of myself. So if I do more, that's going to make me feel like I'm worthy.
Yeah. And what has been the most challenging part about being an entrepreneur for you personally? What was like the one thing that you have to tweak daily?
Oh, daily, I really need to tweak, where am I investing my energy and my time? Because it's very easy for my schedule to get out of line like crazy, because we're also lifing, right?
Yeah.
We're not just entrepreneurs. We're, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, husbands, wives, mothers, friends. And that's something I'm continuously challenged with, is just managing, where I'm investing my time, because I do wear all those hats. I do want to be there for everyone, and I do want to do everything, and that's not possible. And so I'm learning, like, to integrate instead of balance, like really integrate all of these pieces into my life. And that's been my biggest challenge, because I want to do it all, and we can have it all. It's just we can't do it all at the same time.
I actually asked someone that question earlier. Can you have it all? And I like that you said that.
We can. We can. I mean, based on my experience, on this journey, on my journey, I've been very blessed. I feel like I have it all. I feel I'm excited. There's so much more ahead. And it didn't come overnight. It wasn't an overnight sensation. It was me continuously doing the work, showing up, being committed, being consistent, and taking the time to step back, rest, reset, because you cannot hustle and grind 24/7,
Yeah.
365 days a year. You will burn out and you will not be effective.
Mm. And when did you learn? Because I mean, you're clearly successful. You have had a business for over 25 years. You know that a lot of people don't make it past the second year,
Yeah,
or even the first year. Being an entrepreneur is hard,
it
and we
is.
throw that word out there. So like be an entrepreneur, quit your 9 to 5, start a business. And what tips can you give to people who are in the corporate space and have their side hustle and is thinking about leaving their 9 to 5 to go full throttle? Because I feel like I personally feel like as an entrepreneur, you have to be all in or nothing. That's just me. That's just how I feel. But what are your tips and advice to those?
So I love that question, because there are so many people that are in a 9 to 5 position that want to create their own business. And I think that's amazing. And although I wasn't in a 9 to 5, I did have my staffing business, which I focused, 90% of my time on, for the first 8 years. And then I was focusing on the coach, because remember, I started the coaching side 9 years ago. So I was managing both businesses. So what I did is I focused on the staffing initially, 95%, and then 5% of my time, which would probably be like on a Saturday morning, or on a weeknight when the kids went to bed or when their sports were done, then I would say, okay, for these 2 hours, even though like I want to go out to have drinks with my friends or I want to watch Netflix, I'm going to work on my business. And that's what you have to do as an entrepreneur. You really got to do things that other people won't do. And I know it's hard. And I used to get up at 4:30 in the morning when everyone else was asleep and go to the living room, to write the next chapter or to, create the next piece of content. And I know it's not easy, but it's not an easy journey. And you got to step out of your comfort zone and do things that might not be comfortable to get to the other side. And I've seen a lot of people leave their 9 to 5s, took them, some time to take that risk and make the jump, but they were working on their side business little by little, and they have no regrets. Mm-hmm. They're doing great. They wouldn't go back. And there's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5. It's just sometimes you have this passion in your heart and this fire, you have an idea and you just want to launch it to the world.
Yeah. And what do you feel like has worked for you to where your staffing firm has, top 5? And then you're coaching.
Just won Best of 2024 staffing firm.
That's amazing.
Got that. So that's exciting.
What do you think has made your business such a success with the staffing firm and coaching?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I focus on the relationships and service. And so when I first got into, business 25 years ago, I was trained to focus on the competition. And that was very stressful, because in any, business, you need to focus on, they tell you focus on the bottom line. And of course, we need to be aware of the bottom line. However, it was killing me. I was very stressed out. And I just thought, like, I'm not going to make it. If I'm just focusing on the bottom line, I'm not going to make it. So I love what I do. So what can I do? I said, you know what? I'm just going to focus on the relationships and the service, and really coming from a heart-centered place. Instead of focusing on the number, what am I going to close this month? I said, I put that to the side, and I said, who can I serve this month? And so I started focusing on building the relationships, giving the best service that I could. And from there, it really gained momentum when I just surrendered and I let go of the bottom line. Now, don't get me wrong, the bottom line is important. We need to be aware of it, and we need to be strategic financially in our businesses. However, I believe when you set the intention of service and you are committed to learning, everything else will fall into place.
I love that you said that, because, we talk about business, finances, and friendships, because those are the most important things when it comes to running a business.
Yes.
Did you ever have a moment, especially during the pandemic, where you thought that, oh, my business, I don't know if I can continue? Was there ever a year where you're like, I don't know if I can continue?
Girl, I don't know how I made it through 4 economic crises, the pandemic, and actually, we're currently in a cycle in my industry, in the staffing industry right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which the blessing in that is it's been, running itself, and it's allowed me to focus, more on the coaching. And so, yes, it's, I remember January 2nd, 2009. That was during one of the major economic crises.
Yeah.
I woke up after an incredible year, but 2008 was amazing for us on our direct hire side, the full-time placement side. But I could see that on the temporary staffing side, things weren't the same. I started to see the numbers start to dip. So intuitively, I said, something's off.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started, hearing the news. And thankfully, I had made strategic, decisions financially in the business, because I woke up, oh my God, I'm getting emotional, Bianca. Girl, I woke up January 2009 to 0 billing.
Mm.
And that had never happened to me. And so that put me in just a state of, I cried, I was depressed, like what was I going to do? So my livelihood, my family, my husband, our home. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to let this take me down. I'm still going to make my calls. I'm still going to meet with people. And that's what I did. And at the end of that year, my accountant was shocked that I actually ended up, I mean, it wasn't, good. Like we were definitely down.
Mm-hmm.
Percentage wise, but he was shocked that I was able to come out in the black that year. So
yes,
many challenges.
And something you mentioned throughout this interview is like you follow your intuition with everything. Was there ever a moment where you didn't and you were like,
Yes. I make an effort to follow my intuition at all times. However, let me tell you, no, of course, there's sometimes I use, I'm like, no, this will be great. And I don't really sit with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't make sure it's in alignment, and I'll make a decision and I'll be, okay, there you go. I just got stung.
Yeah.
But girl, I will tell myself, you felt it, you knew it. Why did you continue with that?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know what, it was a lesson.
Yeah.
And sometimes lessons are hard to learn. And then the perspective I use is, okay, I made this mistake. I failed. However, this is saving me from a bigger mistake, a bigger failure.
I love that. And so what's next for you? How can people stay up to date with you?
Yes. So what's next? I'm open, to incredible opportunities connecting with you. I've had, incredible interactions where I'm speaking and joining other podcasts. I've also been doing some, corporate consulting, recruiting. I'm still also available for individual coaching. And you can always find me at graceredman.com. Definitely join me on IG, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm there, YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm just going to continue to show up and do the things that make me feel joyful and provide impact.
Yeah. And where can people grab your book, your website as well?
Yeah, they can grab it on my website. Here's my book, or Amazon.
Amazing.
Yeah, and you could also find us Real Talk with Grace Redman. Just listen to, there's so many different episodes with so many different people. They're all amazing. So there's something there for everyone, but it's about, people who have overcome challenges and created amazing.
I love that. Thank you so much. I can't wait to connect with you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at It's Bianca B at Bianca B Show. Thank you guys so much. Bye. Bianca B.